Now, reacting to the president's plans on our sister show this morning, economist and chief executive at the financial derivatives company, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, explains why Nigeria's power sector privatization must be revisited.
I think it's doing it because it has to be done. Nigeria is lagging. Our railway infrastructure is as old as almost 100 years. So if you go along Agege and all the railway lines are being used to drying clothes rather than for transportation. Now, to reactivate this, in addition to rail reactivation, which is important, what I didn't see was the rehabilitation of the pipelines. I think the Federal Executive Council approved the Abuja-Kano-Kaduna gas pipeline infrastructure. And I think that was not put into the speech, but there's a massive program towards pipeline rehabilitation.
For gas?
For gas and for petrol and crude to the Kaduna refinery. When you do that simultaneously with the rail, you will save our roads from wear and tear. Most of the trucks that are plying the roads today are carrying cargo which will go by rail. They're carrying petrol which will go by pipelines. And then when you save the roads, you also save lives. And I think that is very, very important, extremely important.
In terms of the road as well, and what the president spoke about extensively as well about power. Yes. And he says there will be discussions with the DISCOs in the downstream part of the electricity sector on how to improve electricity. He said he was happy that our generation capacity has strongly improved. Do you think that's one of the good stories of 2017?
He said 7,000 megawatts is where we are, the capacity. But actually our on-grid power is about 4,000. It's been over 4,000 megawatts for the past month or two, which is very good. But, what we need is 45,000 megawatts. We are doing 10% of what we require. But if you take the embedded power, which is the other solutions, which are off-grid power, which are coming from the Escravos gas pipeline, when you add the two together, we are beginning to see improved, very slightly improved power supply, but it's still a major problem. The power sector needs forbearance for the people that have invested in this thing, because they invested with their eyes blind. They thought they were going to make money, but they actually lost money. Secondly, the banks have put money out there with high interest rates. So there's need for forbearance and intervention to ensure that those who bought these assets blindly can actually turn them around.
And when you speak about forbearance, you think the government should bring all the power companies there, the regulators and the banks, and maybe the central bank, yes, to say perhaps the loans could be restructured for another 5 or 10 years.
And some of those who don't have the capacity to be fired and new people brought in. And basically, in the end, you say, go and sin no more. Because that's where we are. If we don't do anything about it,
government still holds between 41% and 31% in both the GENCOs and the DISCOs. Do you think this is the year President Buhari should take the bull by the horn and sell down on the government's holdings in both the GENCOs and the DISCOs?
Sell down one, but before then, make sure that the guys who bought it are those that have the capacity. We should have done this 2 years ago, but let's do it now.
So we need to revisit that
Absolutely,
privatization.
and then forbearance. There's no way you can make omelette without breaking eggs. Therefore, you must give, you must give them, and then more important, cost-reflective tariffs. Agreed in principle that you have cost-reflective tariffs. It's not good, it's not expedient to do it in an election year, but then you will have to subsidize those who are producing power to the extent that they can cover us until after the elections and after we review we have the economic intervention programs that will bring up about minimum wage and so many things put together, get our tax mobilization together. At that point, you can then, come up and step up with the cost-reflective tariffs.
Other stories now. The Egyptian government is keeping its customs exchange rate steady at £16 per dollar, starting from today, January the 1st, until the 31st. The Finance Ministry explains that this decision comes as the exchange rate of the country's pound currency remains stable. Earlier in December, the ministry announced that the customs dollar rate would continue to be fixed until December the 31st. Egypt began fixing its customs dollar exchange rate and adjusting it on a monthly basis in January 2017 to help importers better cope with the pricing of their products after the country's central bank floated the currency in November last year. And in Namibia, data from the central bank shows the country's foreign reserves declined to a 5-month low of 28.5 billion Namibian dollars, and that's about $2.31 billion. The Bank of Namibia attributes the decline to the exchange rate fluctuations in net commercial banks' purchases of foreign currency. The level of international reserves declined from 31.6 billion Namibian dollars or $2.56 billion at the end of October. Now, here's some good news for motorists in South Africa, as petrol price is to drop between 29 and 34 cents per litre on Wednesday due to a stronger rand. The country's energy department says the rand appreciated against the US dollar, which led to a lower contribution to the basic fuels price on petrol and diesel. The decrease was partially offset by an increase in crude oil prices due to a shrinking U.S. stockpile and a North Sea oil pipeline remaining shut. Still to come on the program, high expectations as Liberian President-elect George Weah faces a task of restoring the country's economy. Do stay with us.